Alex, welcome. How are you today, pal?
Hey, Doc, how are you?
Fine, Alex. Nice to talk. What's going on? What do you have for me?
Hey, I just wanted to share a couple quick points on the Canadian and American hockey game for the women's gold medal. First, just give them a little congratulations to the American women for winning.
Right.
I think I would also agree that I was a little disappointed with the crowd.
There's nobody there. Nobody at these games.
No, there really wasn't. And I think, the NHL didn't go for partly that reason, that hockey's just not a big sport over there.
Well, why would the NHL go and have all their big games be at 3 o'clock in the morning on NBC Sportsnet? Why would they do that? To stop their season for 3.5 weeks. Why in the world would the NHL, and pay all the expenses, by the way, why would they go do that? That's the dumbest thing in the world. You can't do that if you're the NHL.
I agree. And then just a second point on, I think part of the Canadians were disappointed, the players and the referees, not to make an excuse, but even after the first period, they had Don Cherry on, and he was, expressing his displeasure
about what
the calls that were being made.
So he thought the Canadian girls got a bad whistle.
Yeah, I think he did. I think the third period was a little bit closer, but I think the first and second period it was something about 6-1 in penalties. There's a few missed calls.
I have not seen a recap of the game. From a line score perspective, I know the Americans scored on a power play in the first period. They also had another power play. Did the Canadians have a power play in the first 2 periods of this game?
We had one.
And the United States has a power play here early in the second, so they did have a lot more power plays than Canada. All right, so Cherry didn't like that. Gotcha. Next.
No, it's just a small point, but I think that was maybe part of the displeasure of some of the women's hockey team, is they just kind of felt like they didn't get a fair just. And, they hadn't lost a game for 20 years at the Olympics. They had won 5 straight golds. And, you got to give them a little credit, but I think they probably could have done a little bit better sportsmanship.
But you can't. I mean, again, they may have not gotten a good whistle, but they didn't get robbed in the game. They had a 2-1 lead with 7 minutes to go. They didn't get robbed in the game. And you can't take away your silver medal. Who are you? Leave the silver medal. You want to leave the silver medal in your hotel room when you fly back to Canada, go ahead. But don't do it right there taking a silver medal. Doesn't look good. Here is Alfred in White Plains. He on Mad Dog Unleashed. Alfred, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm giving you a great flick to watch with your daughter at my best friend's wedding yesterday, and you're confusing it with Wedding Crashers. Between that and Jim Ringo, I mean...
I think you're right. I think I am. Best friend's wedding, I think you're 100% right. I am confusing it. With Wedding Crashers. Good point.
Owen Wilson, we're not in my best friend.
You're right.
We can with it, please.
It's a good point. Sloppy on my part. 100% right.
And if you want a good Laura Linney flick, I know you love her. You ever seen Absolute Power?
I don't think I have.
Clint Eastwood, E.G. Marshall, Laura Linney, Gene Hackman is the president. It's a must-see.
Yeah, I think I have seen it years ago, but I think I have seen it.
Now, 1980, I'm at Syracuse my senior year while you're working your way as a sophomore through Lakeland with the gold card. All right, nose to the grindstone. With the
right.
Best gold card, I'm sure.
Right.
It was. You have to remember, we are in Central New York in the dead of winter, so it was on fire between Haydn's 5 gold medals and the Americans. I mean, after the tie, with what happened, we watched them in the garden get smoked by the Russians. But then, they pulled the tie out, started playing better. The headlines after they beat the Czechs, these Czechs bounced, which was tremendous. Those were the headlines in the paper. Then the momentum comes. That Friday night in Syracuse, my senior year, was absolutely electric.
And you stayed away, from McKay, and you stayed away from Frank Reynolds.
Yes, we had to. Everybody was under orders in the house. You had to stay away from ABC. You couldn't watch.
Well, you saw when you put the television on, though, McKay was there with a bunch of American flags, waving the American flag in delight. You didn't get the idea that the U.S. won a game?
You had to stay away. It was the house rules. Simple as that. And then obviously huge parties that Friday night, and then the following Sunday, it was just amazing. Real quick on last night, I watched the game. The American girls completely outplayed them. I don't want to hear Don Cherry in overtime with a minute and a half to go, and it was a penalty. All right, one of the Canadian girls got dragged out, so they ended that overtime with a minute and a half power play, and the American goalie made 2 great saves. They kept the game alive.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So at the end of the overtime, the Canadians had a power play.
The power play came with about a minute 50. With about a minute 40 left. So the last minute 40 of the overtime was a power play. First of all, USA almost scored shorthanded, and then they had the punt in the zone the last minute or so, and they had 2 great chances. She made 2 amazing saves. That kept the game alive.
All right, do you have a problem with the gimmicky conclusion with shootout?
I don't like the shootouts, but I have to tell you, the way that shootout unfolded, it was unbelievably dramatic and tremendous by both the players and the goalies. But I have to tell you, I'm watching girls play hockey. It was an amazing game. Their skill level and how hard and how well they played.
Now, why in the world would you make a commitment to that at 3:00 in the morning?
Because I know what's transpired. I mean, they keep beating them in the World Championship.
Didn't you have to go to work today?
Yeah, but I watched the Australian Open, so what are you going to do?
But you're waking up to see the Australian Open. You can go to bed early. Here, you can't go to bed and wake up and then go to bed again.
What can I tell you? I mean, I'll admit I was in and out of sleep in the second period. But, I came back for the entire third period, the overtime. The Americans, by the way, hit the crossbar about a minute and a half in overtime, so it could have ended there.
And I just saw the Canadians score their second goal in about 5 minutes, so they were in good shape with a 2-1 lead, but you think the United States deserved to win. That's a good update, though. You were on top of that. I give you credit. Let's talk John in Tampa. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed quickly. John, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Chris. How you doing today?
Hello, Johnny. Nice to talk. What's up?
I think in the big picture, there's 2 words: omission and commission. In society, and I'm going to take this across the board, not just with Mark Cuban in sports. The parents will say, "Well, I didn't know my kids were doing this or that. I didn't know they had a gun. I didn't know this or that." Then Cuban, I don't know. So either you're guilty by omission, which means you don't know anything,
correct,
and you're idiot,
right,
or you're part of it and you're guilty by commission. So either way, society, and I'm not just talking about Cuban, I'm talking across the board, Trump, everybody, across the board, you're either guilty by omission or you're guilty by commission.
I agree with you on that, 100%. Patino, perfect example. Good job by Al. I did a bad job on this hockey. I should have been more aware of what was going on. I'll take the hit. We continue.